Welcome back, beautiful people. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I am your host, Zen Sams. Now, let's talk food. New York City has been known as one of the great food cities in the world. In New York City, you will find what we offer, a diverse selection of mouth-watering dishes from many places around the world. It's also the place where many great dishes were generated. And there are many different ways that you could get into a fun, trendy restaurant in NYC. You can make reservations to choose your restaurant, or you can stand in line waiting to be seated. Or you can say Zen sent me from A Moment of Zen, and that usually works. No joke, try it. Especially if you are headed to Bice Cucina. Now, Bice Cucina is sure to impress you and your family. Peter is going to be coming on in just a few. Peter Giumaraes is an entrepreneur, co-founder of the very famous Tipsy Girl Wines, a home builder, a New Yorker, but more importantly, managing partner at Bice Cucina Restaurant Group. He's an all-around great guy, always at the pulse and heart of things happening in NYC. Now, he's going to be opening his second Bice Cucina location in Soho in just a few weeks, and it's where I plan on hanging for most of my dinner parties. So definitely come find me there. Welcome to the show, Mr. Peter Giumaraes, and congrats on the new location. What an accomplishment.
Thank you so much. I'll look forward to the congratulations after a couple of years, since most restaurants failed within the first 2 years. But I think we're going to be fine. We have a lot of loyal patrons that follow us to different locations. So we're really excited about opening up in Soho.
So this is going to be your second location in Manhattan, and you have one in Florida as well, in Palm Beach, correct?
Well, we have multiple in Florida. We're in Palm Beach, we're in Naples, we're in Coconut Grove, and we're in Orlando Studios. We're in Midtown in New York. We're opening up in Soho, and then by late October, we should be opening up in Chelsea.
Wow, that is quite an accomplishment, especially given the pandemic floored most restaurants and made it very difficult for the average person to even pay their bills. Here you are, thriving like a superstar, and that is because I could personally vouch for this. Your food is amazing. Your atmosphere is incredible. There's always fun, sexy people hanging around there, which I love because it puts you into the mood of, you want to get out there and live again. This pandemic has definitely affected us in many different ways, but I think the one way that it has affected us is that people just want to get out and live again, and they don't want to be cooped up anymore. What have you seen lately going on within your restaurant in terms of flow, workers? Is it hard? I'm hearing that it's hard to find employees these days. People would rather just stay home and collect unemployment. What's your take on this?
Yeah, so, we've been in the city for many, many years, and I used to place an ad in the paper, and we would get inundated with 100, 200 calls, emails, texts to try to come in for an interview. I ran an ad for about 2 months. I think I got 2 people, and it's been very disheartening. In Soho, I basically had to take one person out of each position in my Midtown location and staff it. It's been the most difficult time ever in the history of our franchise in getting people to work. It's been really difficult. People rather stay home. They're getting $500 from the city or $500 from the government, another $350 from the city. That's $850 a week. So, if you're a busser or a waiter, it's almost comparable sometimes.
Absolutely, and that is kind of where the Biden administration has royally messed up with this overstimulation, and the economy doesn't need any more stimulation. We need to let things be and let things open up naturally and get people incentivized to come back out and start working again. But your locations have always been packed. They always have trendy people there. I know that I come there and I hang out often with a lot of people from different organizations, whether it's in the music industry, in the securities industry, other fellow restaurateurs who love to come and just hang out at your places. Why do you think, and you're Portuguese, and I want to get into that in just a little bit, but why do you think your location, specifically Bice Midtown, weathered COVID-19 almost, above everything else? You guys were doing great even when most restaurants had closed down.
Yeah, so, we were fortunate in 2 aspects. One, we've been in New York City since 1983. We were one of the most famous Italian restaurants back in the day. We have a huge celebrity following. And the other thing is we were strategically located. We're in a busy area of Midtown, but we also had the best and biggest patio in Midtown, which you don't have to be in a little shanky town in the middle of the street. And we built a tent to encompass the patio. So we were very fortunate to be able to work with this kind of real estate space to get us through this COVID, where some people weren't so lucky. They had no patio. They had to go into the street. It wasn't comfortable to sit there. It was hard to heat these places. We had forced hot air system. So yeah, we were lucky. That's all we can say. I mean, not that, we're rocket scientists in the industry. We work hard. Our food is always consistent. We give you a value for your dollar. You get a lot of food for what you spend at BJ. People always say that we're, so much lower than people around us. It's because we believe in just, being a family atmosphere and giving people a lot for their buck.
For their buck. That's what I'm about. If people want to feel like they got a bargain these days, especially with everybody trying to save money. But it's more than just a bargain dining at Bice Cucina. I literally go there even when you're not there. You're my friend, and often I will come by and say hi to you and just grab a drink. But I'll even make my way there on days where you're nowhere near, because I just love the tuna tartare, and the octopus carpaccio is one of my favorites. Although I don't eat red meat, I stick to chicken and fish, and your menu has ample selection of chicken and fish dishes, so it's great. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about is in New York City, we have all these different eclectic cuisines, and now the Portuguese cuisine is something that you pride yourself on. Being Portuguese is something that you are proud of, and I literally feel when I come into your place the love that you have for being a restaurant, for being a restaurateur. You tend to the place beautifully. You plant your own flowers, which is so unique. Tell us more about the influence of the restaurant since you were growing up, because you grew up in the restaurant industry. Tell us about that.
So yeah, we grew up being taught that you should try to do as much as you can for your business, right? You need to know everything about your business because you never want to be held ransom. And I don't understand how, some owners, some restaurateurs, they can't even get behind the bar and make a drink. So, I mean, there isn't anything I can't do. If the chef left, I can cook on my menu if I had to. Not something that I would want to do on a regular, on a regular basis, but it's something I can do. So when it comes to doing my own flowers and building my own place, well, I grew up with a construction background. So as you know, you're going through a contractor nightmare at your place. I don't want to run into that in my restaurant. So I always take over the construction myself. And I enjoy it. I have a lot of pride in it. When people come in and they ask me, who built your place? I always say I built my place, because I do. I build all my beaches. So we take a lot of pride.
So you built from everything, from in the infrastructure, the aesthetics, ground up truly to the point where you can, like you just said, even cook your own food. That is a true entrepreneur, somebody that can do it all. And I think that the background that you have come from and the kind of like the, I know some stories about your mom because you've mentioned, and I've had the honor of hearing some of your beautiful family stories, but it sounds like you had a strong woman behind you, guiding you when you were starting off.
Oh yeah, my mom in some ways was even stronger than my dad. My dad, his discipline for business, he had a smart business head, but he wasn't disciplined when it came to, putting away the dollars and saving for a rainy day, where my mother was always on my back, like, you don't need this, you don't need that. And now that I'm older and she's not around, I realized how right she was. Like, my mother was a Portuguese Nostradamus. Everything she said was going to happen if I didn't listen to her did. So we miss her today. We no longer have her. But yeah, our hard work comes from your family. And, that's a lot of the reasons why we have so much violence in New York City these days. And while everything's out of control, because the structure, the family structure, the parental guidance isn't there, So when you have these kids going out and shooting people and, attacking people on subways and riding their bikes on the sidewalk and terrorizing the elderly, they don't have any parental guidance. They didn't have somebody to sit there and like spank them in the ass growing up and tell them this is not the right thing to do. So, as a mother, what it's like. You need to raise your children properly. And when they go out into the world, they'll be proper individuals. And I think we've lost a lot of that today.
I agree. And I couldn't echo your sentiment more, that as a parent, I feel that there's a lot of entitlement issues in today's generation. My little one is 5.5 years old, and I make her work for everything. She's a piggy bank. She does chores. She gets $1. She helps me clean. She tidies up. She gets something in exchange for it. I definitely don't want her growing up, turning 18, and sticking her hand out and saying, "All right, mom, how do I get to the next level?" She needs to start working from as young as possible. And I think you're instilling that with your daughter too, Michaela, who is a beautiful teenager, very successful in school. I know that you told me she was on the honors list.
Yeah,
Or got,
yes. Yeah.
That's incredible. Those are things that you should be proud of. And you juggle a lot, Peter. I see it firsthand, managing your restaurants, managing your business, making sure that you're also greeting your customers, putting on that suit when that 5 o'clock hits, and changing out of your wife beater because you've been, planting flowers.
All right, just a disclaimer out there. I do not wear a wife beater. I've never beat my wife or girlfriend. So you need to run the disclaimer underneath the screen that opinions by Zen are not intended from Giumaraes. Okay.
Okay, it was a white V-neck T-shirt, and it was very tight, might I add. Okay.
Well, that's what happens when you use laundry mats in New York City. They shrink all your clothes.
All right, guys. Listen, this was a great interview. You definitely have to check out bicecucina.com. Bice Midtown is the place to be at right now, but in just a short moment of time away, I think the last week in June, Bice Soho is going to be opening up. That was Peter Giumaraes. You are listening to A Moment of Zen. I am your host, Zen Sams. Peter, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, my love. We'll see you soon. I'll save a seat at the bar for you. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao. We'll be right back after this with more.